So what did we find through that initial analysis of what we had on hand for secondary data? That's going to become the what is missing and what do we go after. And we start with qualitative research. And the qualitative research techniques, what we are going to be able to do from a qualitative research technique is really going to be more along the lines of social listening, because this isn't a marketing research class. However, let's go through the qualitative research techniques. When we want to gain an understanding, it's non-statistical. So you're asking interview questions, you're prompting your audience to give you ideas, because you don't want to go in with a preconceived notion of what you already want. Quantitative research is really going to be when you're measuring the ideas and themes that have come from your customers or prospective customers. So qualitative research is when we're researching to get the scope and a framework for what we need, which was not found in secondary data. And typically you'll be interviewing your customers or your prospective customers, your personas. And that this is truly a part of primary research for qualitative research. So when we think about the research from a research design perspective, we want to answer questions of who, what, when, and why. And gathering that information is how we design those qualitative and then secondarily quantitative research steps. So we specify what we're researching and we pull it together so that we know how we're going to obtain that, how we're going to track that, and what we're going to be pulling through and combining with that secondary data that exists. So we'll look at this qualitative research component, and again, these are could be interviews, focus groups, or observations for our purposes today, but this is to give you an idea of the overall research. For our purposes today, we're not going to be doing any focus groups or interviews or observations of changing things in stores, etc. But what we will be doing is finding out from social media listening, what is it that the customers are thinking? So how do you do that? We want to understand what they're looking at. And I'm going to give an example from Carowinds application and identifying, then coding the themes that we found within the Carowinds application. So if you look at these themes, these are the themes on the right-hand side: ride availability information, directions, shows and events, and app availability. When we think of ride availability information, these are statements that customers have made that point us to, hey, I want to know when a ride is available when I use this application. The next component that we see is that they are looking for directions around the park. They also want to know what shows and events are going on. In addition to that, finally, app availability. Where is it available? And what is it that they want to see? So we take all of this information and the number of times that we see these themes pop up, and we look further into their statements to be able to qualify consistent repeating themes, and we codify that, and that's how we actually create a survey. So the surveys themselves are based upon our qualitative research of ride availability, directions, shows and events, app availability. So these become questions that we'll ask in a survey. Now, we're not going to go to this level of detail in our course, but again, never jumping into the survey first. Always understanding that you need to get that first-hand lens perspective of the customer, the persona, before you go forward and do any kind of surveys. And from our class's perspective, what we're going to do is we're going to do a qualitative assessment of social media. Okay, thanks.